All right, folks. We know that there's a lot of things that are going on here in this nation right now. We know there's a lot of different things that is challenging us. Some have just given up all hope in regarding the elections, knowing what the Biden administration is going to be bringing in, and they've already listed out all of the different things that they're immediately going to change on the first day of his inauguration, his first day as president. But there's also the other side of it where we have just a little bit of lingering hope as to think that maybe there's still a way through all of the being careful not to be banned off of YouTube or Facebook, all of the FRAUD that's been going on in multiple elections in multiple states, and the fact that here we are knowing that there's just a few blue counties in the entire nation that somehow that Biden actually did win the election, knowing that the rest of the country and all the counties that are red somehow could not get enough electoral college votes to put in President Trump. I don't know. It's kind of amazing. But this one, I got an article off of the Hal Turner report. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because he's giving us some thoughts to be thinking about. And maybe there's still a constitutional remedy as to what's been going on, and to bypass what Congress has done, what the courts have done, what the Supreme Court has done, what state representatives have done, like the governors and the secretaries of states and all of the cover-ups that are going on, that perhaps if there's somebody with maybe some intestinal fortitude or to be able to stand up and make some decisions. So let's take a look at this. Maybe it's going to come down to maybe a military option. The military swore an oath to preserve and defend the Constitution from enemies foreign and domestic. So let's take a look at this. This is an article that says the Trump card, 14th Amendment, Section 3, or our entire way of life is over. So this is what it's talking about. It says the Trump card is apparently being played. It's not much simpler than you all realize. Some of you have gotten it right, but if not, then our entire way of life is over. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of the state legislature or as an executive judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Election fraud would be a serious felony under normal circumstances, but under an active state of war, it would be considered an act of treason. Think back regarding the Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation hearings. What are the requirements of a civilian to be tried for treason? We have been in a state of war since 2001. Pelosi and all other members of Congress are no longer members of Congress. They forfeited their rights and offices by committing an act of treason. Their treason was to vote to accept electors from states where brazen voting fraud took place, despite that fraud being brought to their official attention on January 6th. They gave aid and comfort to the people who stole the federal election. The judges at both the state and federal level who failed to refuse to hear cases or admit evidence concerning the election fraud, they're guilty of giving aid and comfort as well. They are no longer lawful members of Congress or judges of the courts, thanks to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. They are now considered enemies of the Republic who have aided a foreign power in stealing an election. When you committed an action of treason, you forfeit your rights as an American. You have no rights. So military law versus civilian law. Any evidence is admissible in a military tribunal court. So Pelosi's stolen laptop, along with the or the other 11 stolen laptops can be used in her military tribunal along with everything else Pelosi has done to lock her and the others away for good. History will show that Donald Trump tried every legal avenue to solve this crisis against our Constitution. It will show that all others failed to address this act of treason. He tried to resolve this peacefully. His only recourse left was to use the military, but it will be a lawful use of the military as these people have broken their oaths and committed treason and insurrection. President Donald J. Trump is legally required to act on this because of his own oath to the Constitution to protect our republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. The crimes on their indictments will read treason, sedition, and crimes against humanity. When the whole world finds out that they launched a virus to steal an election, the Great Awakening will begin. They seal their fates, checkmate, or our entire way of life is over. And I'm just going to read just a couple things here. If the president fails or refuses to faithfully execute the office of the president as he swore on a Bible to do and enforce the 14th Amendment, which is part of the highest law of our land, the Constitution, then the following is what we can expect. No fairy tale ending. The good guys won't win. Trump was not playing 5D chess. The military National Guard are not there to protect him, and the fences are not built to keep the deep state captive. The military is not in control. The Insurrection Act was never declared or signed. There will be no arrests. There will be no emergency broadcast system alerts or videos of confessions and tribunals that stream to us for hours on end. There will be no Great Awakening. Hollywood will not be exposed. People will not be held accountable for their crimes against humanity. There will be no Federation of American or the United States Inc. Or there is no United States Inc. Trump will not be reelected through any process. Nothing glorious is going to happen on the 19th, on the 20th, or any time thereafter. So, anyway. That's the article I wanted to bring forth for our discussion this morning, because it's bringing into play something that seems to be quite simple. If someone will act on it, if the president will act on his constitutional oath, if they've exhausted all the other means, are there any officers, military generals, colonels, anybody else within our military, Air Force, Army, Marines, Space Force, Navy? Is there anybody out there that are going to uphold the Constitution of the United States and act on the 14th Amendment, considering the fact that we have been at war since 2001? So I want to bring back with us our co-hosts, Eddie and Tammy and Mark, and I want to get y'all's thoughts. Let's go to Eddie and Tammy first. What are your thoughts about this article? Some of the things that are happening.
I go to one of my favorite prophets, Jeremiah. Jeremiah had so much to say about everything. He is a very key prophet from the prophets of the Tanakh, and in 46, I think it is, it says, a rumor will be heard in 1 year, and after that, another rumor will be heard, and then violence, Hamas in the land, ruler against ruler. And no, I don't think any pre-generation could comprehend what Jeremiah was conveying there, except us and what we have witnessed these last 4 years. Because what did we hear in the first half of Trump's administration? The Russian hoax. In 1 year, there will be a rumor. And then it says in another year, what followed the false Russian hoax? It was the telephone call with the Ukrainian prime minister, which they twisted and turned and lied and skewed and just falsified blatantly, and brought these faux impeachment charges against our president. And so we've had a rumor in the first half of his administration. We've had another rumor in the second half of his administration. And just as surely as Jeremiah is a prophet of the Most High God, he says, then there will be Hamas, violence in the land, ruler against ruler. And precious saints of the Most High God, I submit that to you as a word from Hanavi, that this is what you and I are going to be facing in our country, because he's speaking about the end time daughter of Babylon.
Well, we already have experienced violence in the land with the riots and stuff like that, and they want it to go even more.
Right.
They want it even more so.
And what I believe this week will bring forth with the incredible, no one has ever seen Washington locked down like we're witnessing now. You have a fighter squadron. Why in the world would you have a fighter F-16 squadron ordered to cover the area of Washington, D.C.? You have huge barbed wire fence. You have multiple Stryker vehicles. We've heard that there are Patriot missile batteries being positioned in Tennessee and in North Georgia. Okay, we've heard that there have been prepositioned the Chinese, what do you call those things? Container missiles.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen Costco container ships going up and down our highways. Well, they have perfected a container launched mobile launch system where they have 4 cruise missiles in each container. And so what I believe is going to be next is what Jeremiah prophesied about the daughter of Babylon 2,500 years ago. And that is, we're going to see real violence in the land, ruler against ruler. I pray I'm wrong. I would love to see that this fortification of D.C. Is for the purpose of rounding up the bad guys, because the corruption is absolute. I've never seen anything like this in the courts, in the Congress. It's just horrible. There's no redress. I mean, they totally turn their backs against the American people and the Constitution. And if this does not happen, I do not see Trump remaining alive unless he was part of the whole program from the beginning. If he has been complicit bringing us to this point, that will remain to be seen. But as we're looking at it now, if Trump does not act, there will be no out for him. They will kill him and his family, as they're going to come after us. This is no joke. I wish I was joking. And this is what I see coming.
All right. All right. Thank you. Yeah, Tammy.
You also have to remember what Revelation says. I don't remember which verse it is, but it says, we would have healed Babylon, but Babylon would not be healed.
18:4.
And if that's the case, if that's what we're really looking at, you better be ready to get your motor running, because
and
we're
head
going
out
to
on
be
the
heading
highway.
out soon, very soon.
Yeah.
Bounce down.
Yeah, because Passover is coming up. Yeah, exactly. Here's something real quick before we go to Mark. And this was over at naturalnews.com. And it's the situation update for January 16th. And he says here there remain 3 options for Trump to remain in power and secure a second term. 1, D-class documents coming Monday may be a game changer. So we're looking for more D-class documents today. They released the Trump documents, or the Trump collusion, or the Russian collusion documents on Friday, and there was revealing stuff there. And then Insurrection Act can still be deployed, but it seems no one in the military is willing to follow these orders unless they're keeping it really secret, which is certainly possible. And then 3, the military itself may be carrying out a pro-America military coup to overthrow the deep state and save the republic. So these are just kind of, there you go, rumors. These are just thoughts. People are trying to think. People are trying to say, is there any last strings of hope to hang on to? But Mark, I want to bring you in. And before that, there are some photos over on the situation update for January 17th over at Natural News, and it actually gives some photos of those containers. Container.
There's a name.
Missiles.
Yeah, those launching systems. So you can actually go and see those, and these are made by China. But Mark, I'd like to hear from you because this whole issue regarding the 14th Amendment is very interesting to me, and also I want to hear from you because you had mentioned something in an email talking about a convention of states and what that would do to and we're not talking about a convention of states to rewrite the Constitution, but actually to deal with some specific issues. And so, Mark, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. First of all, let me just say a shower thought might be that if the president has to use armed forces on Inauguration Day to guard himself from the people, maybe he wasn't actually elected by the people. Just a thought.
That's interesting. Okay.
Are we speaking of Biden?
Yeah. If you have to use armed forces to guard yourself against the people on Inauguration Day, maybe you weren't actually elected by the people.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the thought. Okay. Yes. Not going to refer to Article 14. I'm going to take it to a different situation. Article 14 says it outright. It's pretty explanatory, straight out. What if our Constitution that we have today actually made provision for exactly what's going on right now? And John, I'm getting feedback from you. I'm gonna mute you while. So what if the Constitution actually made provision for this? Now, last week on my show, Contemplating the Constitution, I've actually, I did a news story, and now on that show, I'm now doing a section of that show called Our Constitution in the News. And I did cover the 14th that you were talking about. And so this week, and by the way, I'm moving my show Contemplating the Constitution from Wednesday morning to Monday night. So it's actually on 7:00 Eastern time tonight. And the first part of the show will be Our Constitution in the News. And what I'll be talking about is what John mentioned is actually Article 5 of our Constitution. And I want to read that real quick. It says, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution. When ratified by the legislators of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses of the 9th section of this article, and that no state without consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the state. Article 5 contains 2 ways to amend the United States Constitution. Congress can propose amendments. That's where we got our 27 amendments, is from this article. Okay. That made provision. But the second part of it is, or states can call for a constitutional convention. And what that means is that as long as 2/3 of the states of the United States have figured that Congress is not doing what it's supposed to do, you can put forth and call forth a constitutional convention. And what that does is it actually takes everything that we already know and let's take a look at it based on our time today and the things that have happened, the illegal things that have happened and been accepted. And what it does is it allows for us to, yes, actually rewrite the Constitution or take the Constitution and make amendments to repair the things that have been done and make their new amendments so these things cannot be done. So in other words, you would actually take, like your 14th Amendment, you would take Article 2, Section 1, Clause 9 or Clause 2 that talked about the Electoral College, and make sure the things that happened where they restructured things outside of the state legislatures, which are the only ones that have the right to do that, cannot happen for any reason whatsoever. They could actually even restructure the Electoral College and the way it all works and that kind of thing. You cannot do that with the Constitution that we have today. So you have to there's only been one constitutional convention. That's the one of 1787, which made the Constitution that we have today. There was the Confederate Constitution, which was together to make sure our states and our country came together, but then they held an actual constitutional convention. There's never been one held since then, but every state except for Hawaii, as it stands today, has asked for a constitutional convention. Every state. And the Congress won't give us one at all. Every state has recognized there are things wrong in the Congress and how they are doing things, and yet they can't get that ratified to do that. So once again, John mentioned a website you can go that is working. This website is absolutely amazing. Well, I'm sorry, I had it right here. Oh, conventionofstates.com. I'm going to put it in the text. And this will really explain it a whole lot more. I think actually the way it's in there, there's no O there. Let me do this again. It's because it's off my sheet that has, okay, conventionsofstate.com. If you'll go there, there's a place to sign up. There's over 3 million members. 3 million members. And by the way, I will be talking about this tonight in more detail so that you can get the idea. There are Supreme Court judges that are for this. Mark Levine, Ben Shapiro, Senator Rand Paul, James O'Keefe, Sean Connery, Sarah Palin, James Dobson, and hundreds more of big name people agree with this and think this needs to be done. We need to have a constitutional convention and figure out what the hell's going wrong with everything that's going on. So you can sign up for this movement. You can get more information on it. When I found this, I was just blown away. tonight on contemplating the Constitution for our Constitution in the News. I will be talking about this because this is going on right now. Right now, people, there are a lot of, and once again, 49 out of 50 states have already asked for this, and they're not getting it. And all you need is 2/3 of the states in the United States to make this happen. So why aren't we getting a constitution convention? Sorry.
You're muted.
My question is, why do we shouldn't be waiting for Congress to give us permission? Because when you need a constitutional event,
I misspoke. It's not that Congress isn't making it happen. I misspoke on that when I said that. It's just that we can't, for some reason, those states that want this, they are scattered. They are not together. They are not in a place where they will get this together. And that's why this Convention of States website is together, to try to get this together, to get somebody that will lead this off, put it together. So you got to have leaders. You got to have people that are going to hold this and what they're going to do. They have not organized it. So what is happening is hopefully this particular organization or a project, they call it a project, will put this together. I misspoke when I said Congress won't allow this. Congress has nothing to do with allowing it or not. It has to do with them organizing and putting it together.
Well, if it doesn't happen real quick, if things continue down the road, it won't happen at all, because I can tell you that if Biden and his people are in office, us coming together, especially people that aren't completely left, that aren't completely evil. I mean, they've already said that they want to wipe out all Trump supporters. They want to wipe out all Christians, all people of faith. They want to wipe out any vestige of us who carry the light of Yahweh within us and kill us. And so what remains is just scum.
Okay. First of all, it doesn't have to be the people from the House of Representatives and the Senate, the state representatives and the senators from the states don't have to do this.
Right.
It doesn't have to do this. This is so realistically, we just had a massive amount of people vote to impeach the president. So you would say, well, how are you going to get these people together to hold a convention of states? It doesn't have to be them. All it has to be is enough people from those 2/3 of the states to get together and say, let's do this.
Well, and I didn't think that it had to be them, but my thought is they will not allow I'm speaking congregation, people to come together at all.
Right.
So
the concern is our First Amendment right to freedom to assemble may be removed, and
because they would call us terrorists.
They would say that's insurrection, and something like that would go on. And now,
but John, it's a constitutional right. What are you talking about?
It's a constitutional right for us to have guns. It's a constitutional right for us to be able to speak and to show what we want. Does it matter if it's a constitutional right anymore? No. No,
it doesn't. But what I'm telling you is the Constitution wrote this into the Constitution, knowing that this could happen, knowing it could happen.
I think knowing it would happen, because if you look, our forefathers were not idiots. They knew the history of nations, and every nation has a decline. Right. Every nation brings in tyranny eventually. That's why they said, even in the Declaration, it is our duty to rise up and overthrow those that would do that. Just like when you've studied before on the Constitution, we should all have militias all over the place, and they should be allowed. But yet what they've done is, if you're a militia, you wipe them out. But yet constitutionally, we should have them ready. If the National Guard is all over in Washington, then we should have militias set up all over the United States to defend us. And yet,
it's pulling it together. It literally, it's who's going to pull it together.
Actually, it's not, because when we've had militias, they go in and break them up and kill the people, jail them, or do whatever. The people in our nation, the leftists who seem to always, they don't want people coming together. They label them as white supremacists or terrorists or something like that. So militias have been destroyed or had to go underground because they try to get the people to think that they're illegal and they're all out to create terrorism, when in fact the terrorism is from those that are pulling the cords right now.
So we got to pull back that curtain. We're going to find out that wizard is not quite as big as we might think too. I mean, we have to consider that. But there's something that in this, what they're talking about in the Convention of States, and all the way back to my U.S. history class back in high school, I remember that they were talking about having a Convention of States. This was back in the
olden days?
Back in the olden days, in 1980, I believe is when I took U.S. history, 1980, 1981, somewhere along there. And my
oh yeah, he was in Norway, guys. So I was like, we did that a lot more in the States, but he lived in Norway, the country, so that's what his problem
So my history teacher said, look, there's a danger to having a Convention of States because they can take this Constitution and completely rewrite it and write out of it
the good stuff.
Our bill.
There are positives and negatives. If you look it up, you do the research. I did. Yeah. I've spent the past week researching this. There are a lot of different ways to look at this. So I'm just giving you that option that's out there.
But on this, at the conventionofstates.com, it does mention here that they're specifically, they want to hit 3 different issues. And I think that's good. If you limit it to what they're going to talk about, these are really great ideas. And one is to propose a constitutional amendment that limits federal power, because think about all of the bureaucracies and all the stuff that's been created that trample upon our rights. And second, mandate fiscal responsibility. So, which means all of this stuff, like sending all this money that was overseas that was part of the COVID-19 relief fund. No. And they're sending it for gender studies and all this sort of stuff. No. We need to mandate fiscal responsibility and
we need to get our own country in line instead of doing that for the other countries.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then impose term limits on federal officials. And now listen, term limits on federal officials. So now we're not only talking about senators and representatives in Congress, but we're also talking about those people that are embedded within the bureaucracy that stay in there to continue a narrative and continue an agenda that transcends administrations.
Judge. Are we talking down to the local level like what Mom does, though?
I think we're talking about those people in leadership.
Okay, because I wouldn't want that.
Those that have their those appointed people that find themselves, they stay in those positions. They stay in the government. They continue on. They carry out the agendas that they originally were brought on to do, and then they thumb their nose or their thumb or whatever to the president and say, well, we're just going to slow walk your administrative ideas and proposals, or we're just going to ignore them because we have a different agenda.
Bob says that's already in there. We've been corrupted and captured.
Yeah, and that's right, Bob. Yeah, really good point. Eddie, what are your thoughts?
I agree with what y'all are saying exactly. We have been, corrupted and captured. We do need term limits. There's a lot of things we can improve because of what we face. We've had 240 years of governance under the Constitution, and we've seen how the wicked have been able to come in and corrupt this thing,
take advantage there,
so that they can use it. Yeah. And you want godly people at a constitutional rewrite. You don't want Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Shifty Schiff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
they don't want it. Right.
Exactly.
They don't
Yeah.
want new
Yeah.
stuff in there. They
Yeah.
want to use what they already have in the Constitution and manipulate it.
Mhm.
Okay. What needs to be is not a rewrite. It's to take Article 5, which allows you to make it updated.
Yes.
Make it updated based on what we have right now. We have Article 5 gives you the right to put amendments in the Constitution.
Mhm.
There are 27 amendments. Then that's it. There has been no more. There isn't anything since the 27th Amendment. We now need to update that and
Yeah.
base it on the rights of the people. Anyway, I mean, tonight on my show, Contemplating the Constitution, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be going into more detail on this. Thanks for talking about it, though, because
Yeah.
I really appreciate the input. Yeah.
Well, this is extraordinary times that we're living in, and we
It
need.
is.
And these are extraordinary things that we need to be educated on. That if we have the ability and we still have a voice, and we can still make that known in our nation to our senators, our representatives, even on the state level, even in our city level, we need to make these constitutional rights known. Tammy, did you have any other thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking that, one of the things that needs to be amended or fixed is these lifetime pensions to the congressmen that have been in there for 2 years or 4 years, and for the rest of their life they get, their diplomatic immunity and all of that stuff.
And medical and all
Yeah.
that. And dental.
Yeah.
We deny the service members.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of one of the things that we covered on Contemplating the Constitution that still blows me away. Every one of the House of Representatives and the senators, they make $240,000 a year. Every one of them. They make money outside that, but that is what they make individually.
Wow.
Each one of them, $240,000. But forget this. They don't, their whole job, their number one job, House of Representatives and Senators, their number one job is to vote. They don't even have to show up to vote.
It's free money.
There is a list on the government website. There is a list of your House of Representatives, your state representatives and senators, and how often they show up for work. Bernie Sanders is second from the top of people that have barely shown up. Like out of 117 times, he showed up twice.
Oh my.
And they make $240,000 a year salary. Year. Not in their term, a year salary.
Yeah.
That is infuriating. Go
For the
ahead.
rest of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all like to have the salary of the last job we had and carry it on for the rest of our life?
That's
you
right.
know,
That's right.
much less. I want the 240. Man, if they get 240 for doing nothing,
Yeah. You show up two
Trump-
days out of 117.
Trump set such a precedence. I'm not taking a salary.
Well, hey,
We
You know,
need
we
to
could-
change that.
we just need to print more fiat money. I mean, that. Right?
We got it.
There you go. And then we can all have it. Just dole it out.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.